Digital Foundry breaks down this video on the Xbox Ally X, the specs, analysis, reaction, and all of the above. So I'm looking through the comments. This person says, don't understand if it will play my 360 digital games and not my other more recent digital games. Now, the reality here is all your digital games usually don't go with you to the next console platform. What you're actually looking for, and anybody who may be looking for something like this, is a PC or something that actually carries and adopts that spirit of the PC ecosystem where you may be able to emulate and such. And I see some PlayStation players using this as their categorization of why the Xbox Ally X is not a console. I have to say, this might be an unveiling of a lot of the, I don't know if I would call it ignorance that's out there, or people are just clearly unaware of what Xbox's ecosystem has been all this while. Now, this is why I remember I was just talking to Proto Rock on his show, on his podcast, and I said the Xbox Series X is my latest fascination. I don't think he really understood what I was insinuating because, for the most part, it's like, why would anybody be fascinated about the Xbox Series X? I mean, it's an Xbox, isn't it? I'm a PC gamer, and I realize that Xbox has been doing a lot of things that PC gaming has actually had all this while. Like stuff that Steam has had, right? Just, you can play your Steam game anywhere. I can play Spider-Man here. I can get up. I can go to my other, rig it's more of in a quiet area, and I can play the same game, continue where I stopped. I can stream the game, like most of my installed games here, right? Let me see, installed locally. Right here, right? But there are games that are not installed locally, like say Days Gone. It's installed on another PC. This is installed local. Days Gone is installed locally here. Let me see. Okay, it needs an update. It's installed locally here. But there are some games that are not installed locally here that I have on other systems, and I can literally just stream those games from here. And so when I see a lot of people just wondering to themselves, like, what is Xbox really about and all of that stuff, it really just makes me scratch my head, not realizing that a lot of these folk have not necessarily been tuned into the Xbox ecosystem. And so they don't know that forward compatibility, play anywhere, and all these things are benefits out here. I wanted to show you guys my demo for Nier Automata that I downloaded on the PlayStation 4, but I can't play on the PS5. It's weird. Yeah, it shows playable on PS4. It won't play the demo on the PS5 because they never bothered to make the demo forward compatible. So when I try to click it on the PS5, it says this PS4 game or demo isn't playable on PS5. If you have another version of this game, switch versions, and you might be able to play it on PS5. For more information, go to the PlayStation.com or get a playable version, and it takes you to this version of the game, Nier Automata. Very interesting, because I see a lot of people saying that all your games should be able to play before it's called a console, and it's like, okay, yeah, I get it, it's a demo, but I remember clearly that demo made me kind of go, dang it, I shouldn't have sold my PS4, because I didn't need the trade-in credit for it. I just thought, I don't need I'm moving to the PS5, everything should be able to move over to the PS5, it shouldn't be a problem, right? Then I find out that demo was not playable. There's a reason, actually, I like that demo, because that demo was actually the thing that made me say I was going to own this game. But the demo starts from somewhere very interesting. It's a very clear cut in the game, and it's actually been something that, we used to kind of do some assessment on how we wanted a piece of a game to roll and to run in that regard. It's very interesting that that's it's gone now. Like, I can't play it unless I go back to a PS4, sign in my account, and I'm able to play the demo because it's a PS4 version of the game. So when I hear a lot of the punditry talking about how, the Rogue Ally X, the Xbox Ally X is not traditional because you can't natively play games and stuff, and I think to myself, really? A lot of people who keep saying this stuff as well aren't even aware that the Rogue Ally X now leverages pretty much the only platform that you can play every game. Should I sit here and now hold everybody's hand and tell you that you can play every game on the PC, whether it be your Xbox 360 or your PlayStation? Should we now have to start doing that again and letting people know that now your saves are not going to transfer over? But what is this whole conversation even about? And what's funny is I was watching the Digital Foundry, analysis here, the one that they clipped in the DF Clips YouTube channel. I think Ollie Max starts talking. This is Oliver, right? That's his name. He starts to talk about the hardware piece and starts talking about the Nintendo Switch. I'm thinking to myself, I must be living in an upside down world. This is wild. Listen to what he says here.
Okay, the first thing we want to talk about is the new hardware reveal. And this is something quite different than what many people might have been expecting. No hint of a 10th generation console here. Instead, Xbox has collaborated with ASUS to bring us the Xbox Ally and the Xbox Ally X. Two handhelds, both based on AMD Silicon, also featuring stylings from Microsoft. And interesting stuff.
Let me give you something to hold on. Based on AMD Silicon. Did you hear that? Hold on to that statement, and then let's walk our way through a lot of this video.
I think possibly the software is more interesting than the hardware, but Oliver, your take on this?
Yeah, I do like the hardware here, I think. For a device like this, as I said before, I think the grip-centric design makes a lot of sense, and it should greatly increase comfort. They've got the same display, I believe, as the original ROG Ally, and the ROG Ally X, which we've seen for a couple of years now, which offers VRR, which is obviously really important for a PC handheld. The controls appear very high quality. I heard from some hands-on impressions that they are very similar, not to the Xbox controller, but to the original ROG Ally and the ROG Ally X. They have a very similar styling, very similar feel to those buttons, which is a good thing, by the way. I think that's quite a good set of controls for a handheld. On the premium version, you even get the impulse triggers from the Xbox One and Xbox Series consoles. So those vibration triggers, quite good for racing games.
Interesting.
The SoC in the lower spec version is a Z2A, which is...
Did you hear that? The SoC. An AMD SoC. I wonder which other devices traditionally carry the AMD SoC. Let's keep going.
It's basically the Steam Deck SoC there. In the premium version, it's a Z2 Extreme, which is good for maybe 10 or 20% of it.
So these are AMD devices too then, AMD-based devices and processors. Wonderful.
Additional performance above the Z1 Extreme, which we've seen in a lot of handhelds, like the ROG Ally, like the ROG Ally X, many other handhelds. The premium version also has an 80 watt-hour battery, which should offer some pretty impressive battery life for a handheld like this. My only concern really about these devices relative to other PC handhelds is their size, because they are very thick and very heavy. The higher end version is about 1.6 pounds, which is a lot heavier than the ROG Ally and Steam Deck, or at least quite...
Bro, we're already playing a video game, man. It's okay to carry a 1 pounder. Nothing wrong with that, honestly.
Quite a bit heavier, I think about 0.3 of a pound heavier. The grip should distribute that weight quite evenly and make it more comfortable, I think, in the hand, and those numbers would indicate perhaps.
Okay.
I think that there is one interesting point of comparison that we have now, which is the Switch 2. And I don't know, just kind of spitballing and thinking about the two devices.
How is the Switch 2 a point of comparison to the Xbox's Ally X? Because the Xbox's Ally X is actually a much better hardware piece simply because it leverages an unlocked ecosystem. Just like you'll see an Xbox Series S and it can emulate, it gives it a better value proposition, right? So if you go ahead and put out the Switch 2 now, which is sitting on maybe one game, Super Mario World, and you look at the Series S, which is sitting on Xbox's native games, Xbox's back compat games, Xbox's emulatable games on the developer mode, all of those things makes the Xbox Series S a much better console to play on. If you understand what I mean. So this is something, again, that comes into play. Sometimes when people say the Switch, I'm like, you should let the Switch just relax and do its thing, right?
Devices. The Switch 2 is a lot more efficient, and it gets custom-built versions of games. It's thinner.
You should not have said the Switch, man. Y'all already got into hot water because of doing a paid ad for the Switch.
Much lighter. You can put a case on it. You can do all kinds of things with it. It also works seamlessly as a portable or dock system, whereas the Xbox Ally will undoubtedly be much clunkier in that respect. And the Switch 2 is a lot...
Undoubtedly be much clunkier. How do you know? I don't know. I don't know, bro. Oh my God. Lord help me. How did you come to these conclusions?
cheaper, and game performance in portable mode, so far at least from our testing, has been quite good. Dock mode's been quite good. It's been a fairly positive experience with respect to a lot of those key areas. So I do think that that is one wrinkle here, whereas I don't...
You know what's crazy, guys, is in the same breath as everybody would talk about this Xbox Ally X and its possibilities and its potential challenges, right? They'll also say that the exact same hardware piece, or at least the most similar hardware piece, the Asus ROG Ally Z1 Extreme, is in the market. We've already seen the kinks in that hardware piece. Like, everyone already has a very good idea as to how much clunkiness is going to be in this Xbox Ally. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying, like, and if they're talking about the clunkiness, I don't know if many of you have been paying attention to the clunkiness of the Nintendo Switch 2. Have some of you not seen some of the reports? I saw one firsthand from a buddy of mine. Showed up and he's like, it's not turning on. That usually something that can happen to devices. Maybe if it stays on the charger way too long. And so we plugged it into a power supply and then turned on. The battery was 22%. That can also happen in some devices when they sleep and all that stuff. But already, the Steam Deck has never done that to me. So I'm thinking, we're talking clunkiness, and he already has some kind of a, conclusion on the clunkiness of this device, which is going to come with a different, I don't know, man.
I think the Switch 1 was a competitive device. I do feel like the Switch 2 is a competitive device in terms of the kinds of experiences you might want to play, right?
In terms of the kind of experiences you might want to play for the Nintendo Switch 2 compared to an Xbox console that's leveraging Windows, the Switch 2 is a piece of crap in that comparison. I'm just being honest. Now, if you like a Switch 2, don't come after me. I'm not saying that the Switch 2 is a piece of crap. No. Hear my words carefully. According to him, if you wanted to make that comparison in light of the games that you want to play from a hardware piece, yes, the Switch 2 is a piece of junk compared to a handheld that's leveraging Windows, a PC. It's just what it is. Hey, again, don't fight me in the comment section. He's the one who called the comparison, and we can basically number the games that can be played on both platforms, right? In that regard, PC looks at the Nintendo Switch and says, "What are you doing here, oh ant?" said the elephant.
And then also one key thing here, and this is my final point, and this is an area that kind of annoyed me about the Microsoft show. Microsoft is trying to pitch this Xbox Ally device in one of their videos. They're trying to pitch it as a console-like experience, which I think is a dramatic overstatement of what the
How do you know it's it's a dramatic overstatement?
device is likely to deliver, which we can talk about later in terms of the software. But it's not a console. It's a Windows PC fundamentally, and will come with a lot of the hassles that Windows PCs come with.
My dude said it's not a console. It's a Windows PC handheld device that's going to come with all of the hassles that Windows PC comes with. So this was what was on the other side of the video waiting for me? So because it comes with Windows, right? Because it comes with Windows, even if it came with traditional Windows and you clicked a button and just installed an exe file that pulled all your games and all of that stuff or whatnot, you know what the heck it is? You know what I mean? Even if it came with that and they gave you a console-like experience, like say Steam Big Picture Mode, right? They're like, here's Big Picture Mode for you to give you a console-like experience, but it's running on Windows. It removes all of the different, extemporaneous things you have to deal with. You know what I mean? Like if they put it on this handheld, it's a console. I don't know what these folk are talking about, man. This video actually devolved into craziness. Oh my gosh.
Even something like the Steam Deck, which is doing a lot more than this device to accommodate a console-like form factor and console-like use case, isn't quite in the console bucket for me personally in terms of ease of use. And I think that's an experience that Microsoft is going to chase with this device. I don't think they're going to reach it. So when they say it feels like an Xbox in their video, it plays like an Xbox. It's an Xbox class experience. They even say, if you've played a console, it's what you'd expect it to be. I have serious doubts about that. If Microsoft wants to retreat from doing more formalized consoles, that's their decision, and I respect that. But to get to the level that even the Steam Deck is at, you need to solve a lot of issues that I don't think they're planning to solve at the moment, or at least for the first incarnation of their kind of Xbox full screen experience for Windows, right? So they have a lot of room, I feel, before they can justify those kinds of statements that this device is a very console-like device and that it can compete with a console-like experience.
So what's funny is he says, even the Steam Deck that actually does a lot to accompany that is still not there for him. But you know who also calls the Steam Deck a device with a console-like experience? Steam themselves. So Ollie Mac, here it is, powerful portable PC gaming designed for comfort and console-like user experience. So Ollie Mac, even Steam Deck doesn't meet your own standards, right? Well, then Windows isn't going to meet it either. And it doesn't change anything that it's a console-like experience. So the reality here is you're not going to be the measure of what this thing is actually about. It may suck for all I care. Does that make sense? But it's a console. It's a console. And man, this is a very strange notion. I think I'm pushing maybe close to 20 videos on this subject matter. And it seems like they're not going to stop. Thanks for watching, though. Talk to me in the comment section. Appreciate you all so much. Peace out.